welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a real historical powder keg, the massive clash between the outlanders, who were basically a huge group of foreign workers and investors, and the government ruling over them at the time. We're going to map out exactly how this intense pressure built up, step by step.
So think about this for a second. What happens when you're the one funding a government, paying all the bills, but you have absolutely zero say in how it's actually run? It's a classic, high-stakes standoff. You're driving the economic engine, bringing in the capital, but the levers of control totally out of reach. It directly pits massive economic ambition against a total political lockout.
Let's start with part 1, the Uitlanders versus the Volksraad.
Okay, so who exactly were they up against? The ruling authority here was known as the Volksraad, and it was led by a guy named Kruger. Now, from the perspective of these Uitlanders, the Volksraad wasn't just a normal governing body. To them, it was this massive brick wall standing right in the middle of the modern society they were trying to build. And honestly, they didn't hold back in their criticism. They officially claimed the government's policies were entirely backward, and they straight up labeled the institution itself as corrupt and inefficient. I mean, when one group looks at the ruling class and sees them as fundamentally broken, you just know the foundation for a massive conflict is being laid.
Which brings us to part 2, clashing economic visions.
You see, the Outlanders were heavily invested in setting up a strict capitalist economy. To make that happen, they literally needed the basics. We're talking good transport, reliable water, proper sewerage, the essential building blocks if you want industrial-scale growth and urban expansion. But here's the rub. They looked at Kruger's government and saw it as completely incapable of providing that modern infrastructure. It was just a total clash of two very different economic worlds.
Moving on to part 3, the dynamite monopoly.
Now, the grievances get super specific right here. The Outlanders were absolutely furious that the Boers, the ruling class, held a strict ironclad monopoly over dynamite. And remember, we're talking about a massive mining economy here. Dynamite isn't some luxury item. It is the absolute most essential tool for getting resources out of the ground. By controlling the supply of dynamite and really all the other mining essentials, the government basically bottlenecked the exact expansion the Outlanders wanted. The Volksraad literally had their hands right around the throat of the Outlanders' main industry.
All right, part 4, taxation without representation. Adding insult to injury, the Outlanders despised carrying the massive burden of heavy taxes to fund this Volksraad, especially while being completely denied a voice in how it was run. Just put yourself in their shoes for a minute. You are paying exorbitant amounts of money to a government you literally think is corrupt. You're funding the exact same institution that's denying you basic infrastructure and monopolizing your mining supplies. And after all that, you don't even get a seat at the table? Crazy, right?
That leads us perfectly into part 5, the 14-year wait. So, what did it actually take to get a seat at that table? Get this, an Outlander had to live in the Republic for 14 long years before they were even allowed to vote. 14 years. That's a massive chunk of a person's working life. This rule practically guaranteed that the very people driving the economy and paying those heavy taxes were legally locked out of the political process for well over a decade. They were completely silenced in the immediate term. When you pile all of this up, that massive 14-year political lockout, the heavy taxation, the sheer lack of basic infrastructure, and those strict monopolies on dynamite, the depth of their anger becomes crystal clear. They carried immense economic weight, but were deliberately starved of any political voice. It is basically the textbook definition of an unsustainable pressure cooker just waiting to blow. So I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. It's a question that really gets to the core of the universal consequences of taxation without representation. When the very people funding a society are blocked from shaping it for 14 years and are forced to live under policies they find corrupt and backward, how long can that silenced engine actually survive before the whole system breaks down? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, guys. Keep questioning that balance of power, and I'll catch you next time.